friends, for this week's media demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to use chalk pastel to finish this drawing of a polar bear. This is a polar bear lesson that I'm really looking forward to. It's supposed to be sort of like our Valentine's Day lesson. I'm going to show you that you can add some hearts or some different things if you want to in this drawing. But this is a mama bear and some cubs. And I'm going to tell you about some of these supplies you need. But first I want to say that if you like this video, please show us that you like it and use some emojis or something. I'll send you one of these magnets. This is an Arts Hub fridge magnet. As you can see, they look great holding up your artwork on the refrigerator. And I really want to send these to you, so please help us out. And I'll be happy to send this to you with a handwritten note, just to say thanks. All right, guys, so the polar bear and cub lesson, we're going to be using chalk pastel, and I want to show you some of the things you can use to make it easier on yourself. First of all, I've got my chalk pastels, and so these, I don't know why they don't call them chalk pastels always. Sometimes they're called soft pastels, sometimes they're called French pastels, but they are made with chalk. They are not made with oil. And so they're different than an oil pastel. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. So these are the uncoated paper plates I have mentioned. And again, this particular brand of pastels, these paper plates, these little things are mentioned on my website in the recommended art supplies page. Anyway, uncoated paper plates are great. They hold the chalk dust. They don't let things roll away. They're really inexpensive. They're great for testing colors. You can see I've got several here, so I'm going to just put them aside. I also have some cotton balls, and today I've got some Q-tips. Now that's because there's some little nooks and crannies that I want to show you how to work with. And another thing I have handy is a wet wipe. So this is just something I'm going to use to clean my fingers in between colors. I'm just putting it on top of a lid here so that it doesn't get my mat wet. And finally, this mat, this blue mat, now I've been using this a long time. It's just a piece of poster board. As you can see, all of these marks, if they weren't on this mat, they'd be on a table somewhere. So I like using a mat, and I recommend you do also. Last thing about chalk pastel, when you're all done and everything's completely finished, you should put some hairspray on it. Now this is the one I recommend. It doesn't smell horrible, and it does a pretty good job. This is maximum hold. So any hairspray will work. An adult should help you with a hairspray, but it certainly is helpful because it keeps the chalk stuck to the paper and not smudging everywhere. All right, guys, so before you do anything with chalk, if you want to add anything to your drawing, you have to do it with a Sharpie, and you have to do it before you put the chalk on there. Now, if you wanted a sun or a moon, I would recommend using a circle. Again, this is like from some type of snack container. But if you wanted to do like a circle like that, for example, you would just hold it down and it could become the sun or the moon. I just wanted to show you what that looks like. And so now I have that shape, and I like that. Like I said, though, this is kind of a Valentine's Day thing. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a few hearts here and there. Now this is something that I'm going to do. You don't have to do this, but it's certainly something you can do if you want to make it as sort of a sweet Valentine's Day type of drawing. So I'm adding a few hearts here and there instead of stars. You're welcome to do whatever you like, guys. This is just an example, but I wanted to show you it's important that you do it before you add the chalk pastel. I'm going to close my Sharpie up tight, put that aside. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get started with the chalk. So sometimes people are like, well, you got a polar bear and a snowstorm, so your paper just stays white. That's kind of an old joke. But what I wanted to show you is, here's a polar bear. And as you can see, the polar bear is not super white, right? Even the baby has got some different colors on him. And look at how dark the shadow is on the inside leg here on both of these legs. So even though the mom is a white polar bear, she is not as white as the snow. And I want you to take a real close look at this, guys. The snow and the sky are still not as white as the paper. So no, the paper should not stay white. You need to use lots of colors. All right, so with that being said, we're going to get started. So I'm going to set this aside for just a second. And keeping in mind that a polar bear, even though it's white, is not like pure white, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the plate. And I'm going to get out my white chalk pastel. I'm going to set it on my plate. I'm going to get out some other colors I want to use in this drawing. So I'm going to get out this really dark blue. I'm going to get out this light blue, maybe a little bit of this sort of golden. This is a really pretty color. I can get it out of there. This sort of golden yellow color. And I definitely want to have some gray. You'll notice that these are all half pieces. What I do with my chalk, it comes out like this. It's kind of hard to use. I always just break it in half. I think it's really helpful to do that. Let's see, anything else I want to do here? I guess I need some pink. And chalk is great because it lasts until it disappears. So it's sort of a low waste kind of thing. So I've got red and pink. And I'm going to have a little purple. And I think that's it. So I'm going to set this aside. And now I have the colors I want to use on my plate. And I'm going to get another plate. As you can see, it's good to have multiple plates. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to talk about the colors I want to do for the polar bear. So mom and babies are all kind of, they're white, but they're not pure white. They're kind of let's look at that picture again. You see they're almost like a yellow and there's some tan in there. So we're going to be talking about those things. I'm going to use my wipe to clean off my fingers. All right, guys. So I'm going to start out with white. And yes, white chalk on a white plate. That is really light. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of this yellow and a little bit of this gray on the other side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cotton ball and I'm just going to mix these together. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a chalky color that is not, excuse me, not pure white. But notice that the plate is holding the dust and the cotton ball is picking the dust up. Okay, you see how that's on my cotton ball? Let's do a comparison. See, it's not pure white. So I'm going to bring this back. And I'm just going to rub this color, which is really not bright at all, but it's really a nice color. It's a good polar bear color. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that on the mom, just to show you what that looks like. And I'm going to put it right on her face. I'm going to go right over my lines. I'm going to get a little more of this dust. I'm going to put that on the baby. We're going to do more to our polar bears later. This is just sort of the beginning color, so I just wanted to show you how that works. Now if you run out of some of that color like I just did, what's great is you just make a little bit more. Make a little more for yourself. So again, this is white and gray and a little bit of that sort of golden yellow color. Kind of like a marigold color. It kind of reminds me of turmeric actually, but it's most importantly though, I want you to notice that I didn't add a lot. And I'm not worried right now about going over my background. I'm just kind of using my cotton ball to rub that in to the mom and the cubs. They are no longer as white as the paper. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to set it aside. I'm going to use my wipe, clean my fingers off. So these are all things that help control the chalk dust. And speaking of chalk dust, you might notice, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of dust on there. What you don't want to do is wipe it. If you wipe it, you're going to smudge it. So hold your paper to the side, just blow it off. So now that the mom and the babies are basically, they have a very soft color to begin with, we're going to leave that alone. I'm going to go back now to my chalk and these, remember I said we don't really need these right now, so I'm going to set them aside. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a little bit of chalk and I'm going to create another thing here. So by another thing, my mat's rolling around. I'm going to talk about maybe the color I want to use in the sky. And so remember I said I wanted to use blue, maybe a little pink, maybe a little white on that pink. So I have my colors I'm going to use for my sky. Bring this back. And what you're going to do is your fingers are great tools, okay? You guys have much smaller fingers than I do. I'm going to use a Q-tip in some places. You might have really small fingers though and be able to do this without a Q-tip. But Q-tips are a great tool. So you see how I'm mixing it with my finger? It's on my finger now. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to gently rub this into the sky. Look how pretty that is. Now you guys, like I just said, have smaller fingers than I do, but I need a Q-tip. So I'm going to put a little bit of my chalk dust on my Q-tip for these tiny areas. And just want to get into all those little tiny nooks and crannies. I'm not worried if some of the dust moves around. It's okay. It's part of why chalk is so pretty. It just kind of has a life of its own. It goes where it wants to go. So you see I'm adding my chalk dust with a Q-tip, going back to my finger. I'm getting some of that pink on there now just because I want to have a little bit of a variety. I don't want my sky to exactly be all the same color. And then hold it up, blow on it. Now guys, I'm going to do this in time lapse a little bit so that it doesn't take super long. I just wanted you to see the beginning stages. So the polar bears are not pure white right now. And I've mixed up some cool colors for my background, my sky. I'm going to put it on with my finger and Q-tips, and I'm going to keep wiping my fingers off to get them clean. But if you're ready, I'm ready, guys. Here we go. Guys, so you can see how cool this looks already. You can see how much chalk has been wiped off my fingers just from this one wipe. So this wipe is really handy. That's why I keep it on this little tray here so that it doesn't get anything on anything else, any dust on anything else. I keep my clean Q-tips aside here, and you can see how much these plates are helping. So all of these things help to keep chalk dust from going everywhere and making a mess. So now you can see I've added some, it's kind of like a cold and icy landscape. The moon is kind of grayish blue like the landscape. I've got the beautiful pink and purple hearts in the sky. And so just to finish this, I want to do a little bit of shading on my polar bears. And so I'm going to do that in real time here with you guys. And I just want to say that this is really a lot of fun, and it's really a nice touch. So I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to leave this light color here, and I'm going to take a little bit of purple. And when I say a little bit, you see how I just scraped it on there? That's more than enough. Okay, you don't need a ton. But what I do want you to do now is you're going to go back to your cotton ball. Now this one's got the gray on there, but it's going to be a nice, it won't hurt it. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that with the light blue. And I'm going to take that cotton ball, and I'm just going to tap it a few times to get the dust out. I'm going to set that aside. Now I've got my handy dandy Q-tip, and I'm going to roll that around in the dust. And this Q-tip is just going to go in a few spots on the polar bears. So the moon is over here. So that means that the shadow would be on this side. So what I want you to think about is just keeping your shadows on the same side. So we're going to start with the baby bear's face, the mama bear's face. This is just the beginning. So we've got the shadows on there. We're going to put a little bit of a shadow on the right side of the leg, the feet, the nose area. So do that to the mom too. You can rub it in with your finger in a minute if you want to. But what I want you to do is we're going to create this really nice shading here. Put a little touch right there. Just blow that dust off. If you get some dust, you can see how far this is going. We don't need a ton to create shading. So I'm going to add a little more, a little more. I'm go on the right side of the mom's leg here, the inside of her ear, her belly, and remember when we talked about the shading on this picture, you see how the inside legs are darker? That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to add that on the whole back inside leg. Get some more dust. Go up the right side of this leg. And a little bit here and there just to make her look cool. A little more in her ear. This should be a shadow right there, I think, personally. You can see how fun this is. This makes it look really, really nice. And so I see I missed one right there, so I'm going to add a little there, a little there, a little bit on the belly. And these are just ways to make your bears look awesome. And there's no right or wrong way. If you accidentally get chalk in the wrong, what you think is the wrong place, don't worry, it's not wrong. Now, one thing I wanted to say is we were talking about, I've got to find my plate. Here it is. We're talking about certain things like his mouth is open. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of this sort of reddish pink color from my hearts, and I'm just going to put it in his mouth like that. If you want to add any other color, so for example, I had my light blue somewhere. Oh, I mixed it up, didn't I? Well, you know what? That's all right. I'm going to take a little bit of my light blue here. See how I said a little bit? And it's just a little bit. And I'm going to get a clean, whoops, well, that was almost clean. I'm going to get a clean Q-tip. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this sort of light blue and a little bit of this purpley color into my cliffs of ice back here. And this just kind of brings your drawing all together. You don't have to do it exactly like me, but you can see how nice this looks. I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow under each foot here. It just looks really cool, so I hope you'll try this, guys. I think chalk pastel is really awesome. It is not too difficult if you just kind of try some of these techniques. You can see how much fun this is, and I think that looks pretty awesome. All right, guys, well, even though I did my best not to make much of a mess, I think I did a fairly good job. I'm going to clean my fingers off one more time. Let's check it out. We got our plates, cotton balls, plates, Q-tips. Look at that. All that you have to do is put that in the trash, guys, and it makes your life a lot easier. So things you can do is save lids for yourself so you can use them. You know, your coated, your uncoated paper plates, save those for another day, and just have some fun with it, guys. I love drawing. I hope you guys do too. Remember, you have to do a little bit of hairspray at the end. This is something your parents should do. See how I'm not getting too close to it? I'm going to spray a few times like that, and it's done. Looks so nice, guys. I can't wait to see yours this week. I'll see you soon. Bye.